My father demands that I give my 5-bedroom house to my sister. So I revealed the truth. She's not even his biological daughter. What happened next shocked everyone. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. I've been mulling this over for the past few hours, and I haven't told anyone how I feel because maybe I'm just exaggerating. Then I remembered that this space exists where I can come and ask for some advice. So here I am, hoping that you can make sense of everything I'm about to tell you, because it's a lot. I'm 31 years old, and I work as a real estate developer. When I was 17 years old, my parents kicked me out of the house for stealing, so to speak. I must admit that when I was a teenager, I was not the easiest person to deal with, and I'm not going to deny that. Anyway, when I turned 17, they kicked me out, and at that moment, I think I knew that I deserved it, or maybe I just wanted to get out of there. That's why I didn't argue, even when they kicked me out for stealing something I didn't steal. I hated the idea of ending up in the system. So, for years, I was on my own. I ended up living on the streets, losing my mind and my purpose. Yet somehow I moved on. After a while, I decided that there was no way to live. I had been on the brink of death too many times, and it made me realize that there was nothing for someone like me on the other side. I started taking odd jobs until I could afford to rent a room in a commune. My big break came when I was 21 and got a job in a very fancy restaurant. I was also in the process of detoxing, and I realized that the substances I was using were only making my problems worse. It was hard, but I was surviving. One day, someone walked through the door and changed my life. That night, I served a woman and her mother. They were incredibly kind and even chatted with me a bit. I had a fluid conversation with the woman, and she kept coming back. Over time, we shared bits and pieces of our lives. Her name was Lucy, and she was my age. Not only was she intelligent, but also very kind. You could tell she was unique. Lucy was a great friend to me, the first person who believed in me. Motivated by her, I decided to finish school and go to university. Between work and school, I didn't see her much. She was doing very well in her career, but always had time for a quick coffee. I really liked her, but I felt like I wasn't on her level yet. I would never dare to ask her out, knowing that we weren't the same at that time. So I decided that I would only do it when I was successful. It turns out that growing up, I was never dumb. My brain just worked differently. I got a lot of help in college and managed to graduate with a very good GPA. I got my first job in real estate development shortly after, and since then, life has been on the up and up. When I turned 25, I finally got the courage to invite Lucy out. It turns out she had been interested in me all along and really wanted me to ask her out, but I never did. Lucy and I already had a deep connection, so it didn't take long for us to get married. Shortly after, we had our first child, who is now 3 years old. I'm doing very well and have a senior position in my job. I have everything I ever wanted, and I'm just happy. I've also had time to process my past trauma. There were times when I wanted to contact my family, but I just didn't. My father told me that I would never, ever speak to them again, and that's what I did. Even though I'm successful now and they would probably feel proud of me, I couldn't face them. I felt ashamed, I wasn't the easiest child to raise, and I caused them pain. I never thought they would forgive me. It's funny how life works because, a few weeks ago, I received a friend request from my father, no less. When I saw his face, I froze, thinking I was dreaming. After accepting his request, he sent me a message. It took me a while to open it, but when I did, it left me crying. He told me that even though the past had been difficult, he never stopped thinking about me. He said that now he was much older and probably didn't have much time left. He didn't want me to be lost in this world and wanted to make things right with me. He told me that everyone in the family also missed me a lot and wanted to make up. We talked a little, catching up on our lives. My sister Sally is now 26 and a marketing assistant. She is engaged to be married in a couple of weeks. Mom and Dad are still the same. They just miss me so much and have been thinking about me for years. It's been over 10 years since we last spoke, and I don't know, it felt weird, guys. We were texting each other for a while, a couple of weeks, before we decided to meet up. So a few days ago, they came to see me and my wife. The meeting went very well, and they were very happy to see that I had done well and to meet their grandson. My sister loved my house and constantly asked my wife about everything related to her. I was honestly glad that they got along. I wanted that, and everything would have been perfect if it wasn't for one little thing. I hope my dad was joking when he said this. If he wasn't joking, then I would be really disappointed in him. So now, I question his motives for coming back into my life after so many years. Basically, when my father and I were in my study, he commented that the house was very beautiful. He said he couldn't believe I had a 5-bedroom mansion, especially considering how I had been as a child. It's not that it's a mansion, it's just a big house, but when he said that, I felt proud. I told him it was thanks to Lucy, who had given me a hand when I was trying to get out of the darkness. Now, I was at a point in my life where I felt real peace and was happy with everything. He said he loved that I was married and that my sister was getting married soon. Then, he commented on how rich I really am and said it would be nice if my sister also had a house like this. I agreed and said that she really liked the house. Then, he asked, "What are the chances of you giving her this house?" I was speechless and couldn't answer. Luckily, he laughed as if it were a joke, but I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Even after so many years, I know my dad. He says things as a joke, but he means them seriously. He might really be asking me to give my house to his favorite daughter. Now, sorry if I sound jealous of my sister, but it's true that she is my favorite. I get flashbacks of how things were before, and I can't go back to that kind of relationship with my parents where I gave up everything for her. I hope my father was joking because his comment left me confused and somewhat upset. For now, I will let it go, but if he brings this up again or shows signs of his previous behavior, I will not tolerate it. I am now 31, not 17, and I can defend myself. Update 1. I think there is still a lot that my family and I need to face and heal. I have followed your suggestion, and we have started therapy together. So far, we have had 2 sessions, and although they have not been easy, they have been good. I have also been watching my family very closely because I have no idea what their intentions really are. The last thing I want is for them to use me. I have noticed some things. For example, my sister has been very friendly with my wife and is always in my house. It doesn't bother me. There is some comfort in knowing that she wants to accompany Lucy. I work long hours, and it worries me to leave her alone at home, especially since she is expecting again. The only thing I don't like is how Sally always takes Lucy shopping and convinces her to buy new things. For Lucy, it doesn't matter much, but I already warned her. Sally sometimes takes advantage of people's generosity, and Lucy has started to notice it over time. She has started to limit her meetings with her. On the other hand, my dad has been sending me messages and calling me a lot. He is very interested in my life and my career. When I was younger, he didn't care what I did in school. He only cared when I got into trouble. I want to think his interest is genuine, but I'm not sure. He asks a lot of uncomfortable questions about money, but I always avoid them. I haven't given him money, except for specific things, and I don't plan to do so until I'm sure our relationship isn't just about money. Things have been awkward with my mom, and there's a reason for that. She's the one who doesn't seem happy that I'm back in the family. She always acts weird and guarded with me, like I'm about to explode at any moment. The only time she talks to me is about my sister's wedding, which she's planning in a couple of days. We're having a rehearsal dinner, and my dad has requested that we have it at my house. I wanted to say no, but my wife said that would be rude. So, in a couple of days, I'm meeting Sally's new in-laws at my house, and I don't know. I have a bad feeling about that day. Something doesn't seem right, but I can't figure out what it is. Lucy says I'm nervous and paranoid. I really hope that's the case because I don't want things to go wrong. For now, it seems like everything is falling into place little by little.
I'm letting go.
I want that to happen so much for the 17-year-old me. I want that cold, scared kid to know that everything will be okay, that the pain I went through is worth it. I really need to deal with my tendency to overthink, but it's a work in progress. So, it's not always easy to get my mind to stop imagining the worst possible scenarios. Update 2. Last night was the rehearsal dinner, and it didn't go as expected. Everything started off great, with everyone introducing themselves and chatting. My sister's fiancé seemed like a nice guy, although very quiet. My parents also behaved, and did not cause any drama. Everything was going so perfectly that I was waiting for the moment when it would all fall apart. Maybe my gut feeling led to what happened next, or maybe it was destined, but suddenly everything fell apart. It had been days since my father last mentioned giving my house to my sister. My brother-in-law's mother commented on how beautiful the house was and congratulated us. I noticed my sister exchanged a strange look with my father, but I didn't say anything about it. A couple of minutes later, my wife and my sister's mother-in-law went to get the dessert. That's when my father asked why we had such a big house. Were we planning on having more kids, he asked. I replied, maybe in the future. Then he mentioned that my sister wanted to have a very big family and how great it would be if she had a house as big as this one. At that point, I got tired of how he was approaching the subject. I told him directly to say what he wanted to say, and he took those words very seriously. He said it would be very brotherly of me to give the house to my sister as a wedding gift. I asked him if he was joking like last time, but he wasn't. He was really serious. He truly thought I could just give my house to her. Before I could ask her why she would assume I'd agree, she said she had seen how much money I made and that I could easily buy another house without going over budget. I felt the anger start to boil over. The old me, that I have worked so hard to keep under control for years, started to surface. I have never taken my anger out on anyone. I used to have a very bad temper and would often lose control. Since then, I have developed other ways of handling conflicts. But seeing that I was about to lose it, my father told me to calm down. He said he was just asking me to do a little thing for my sister. All the while, my sister, my mother, and her fiancé watched, all without a hint of surprise on their faces. It was then that I realized they had planned it. They confronted me in front of everyone on purpose, so I couldn't say no. I had no idea what their plan was, but I wasn't going to play along. I let my anger slowly subside. Then I looked at my father and smiled. I said, I don't understand how you are willing to do all this for her when she's not even yours. I was surprised by the words that came out of my mouth. That's another side effect of repressing my anger. I've found ways to hurt people that do more damage than fists. He was stunned. After getting over the initial shock, he started yelling at me, asking how I could say something like that. He claimed it wasn't funny and that I was causing trouble for no reason. So he had a problem with me saying something like that, but he didn't see a problem with what he had asked me. His lack of self-awareness was evident. I thought it was only fair to stoop to his level. I just continued to be silent without saying another word. Then I looked at my mother. She was glaring at me. She couldn't believe that I had discovered her secret, the same secret that she framed me for stealing so that I wouldn't investigate further when I was 17. I saw her talking with a man who wanted to see his son. I thought she was referring to me, so I confronted her. She said he was the ex of a friend who wanted to see her son and told me not to get involved. The next day, her silver necklace disappeared and mysteriously appeared in my room. She accused me of stealing it. My father became furious and kicked me out of the house. Not many years later, I ran into that same man while I was on the street. I thought he was my father and reminded him about my mother. Fortunately, he wasn't my father, but he was my sister's father. He was a man my mother had been involved with. Apparently, he paid her to keep the secret. Back to the present, I was ready to let the whole truth out. But my mother started yelling at me. She immediately took everyone out of the house so fast that I didn't have a chance to say anything else. Before my father left, I told him, "Take a DNA test. The truth will come out." My wife was in shock from everything that happened. I had never told anyone that secret until now. I haven't talked to them since last night, but I know the messages will come soon. I will keep you posted. Update 3. No matter how much or how hard you try to run from the truth, it will always catch up with you. My father has just faced that harsh reality, and it is breaking his heart. It turns out the daughter he always preferred over me is not his. I don't feel one bit sorry for him. Watching how this drama developed has been sincerely entertaining. After they left the party, my mother insisted that I was a liar. My father started to think about it and decided to take the DNA tests. He came to my office as soon as the results came out and opened them in front of me. For the first time in my life, I saw him cry. He was devastated to realize that his sweet girl was not even his. The one he loved more than me was the product of a lie. He begged me to tell him everything I knew, and I did. I told him how my mother blamed me because I was close to finding out the truth. Since I knew her biological father, it was a coincidence, but I could never forget that face. My father said he was going to do something crazy with my mother, but I was sure he wouldn't. No matter how crazy she was, He loved that woman madly. He was probably still willing to forgive her. That's why those two people were the most miserable I had ever met, and yet, somehow, they were happy together. I had done well in not letting them back into my life. They hadn't changed one bit. They were still the same disgusting vultures who saw no value in me. They only cared now for what I could do for them. I wished them all the misery in the world. Before my father left, I told him not to come near my house again. I had not forgotten how disrespectful he was in my home, and I was not going to accept that kind of behavior from someone who had left me so many years ago. He seemed broken and defeated and didn't even bother to respond. He just left, just like that. I was sure that chapter was finally closed, and I got ready to focus on other things. Until I got that call. The night he came home, my father physically assaulted my mother. He sent her to the hospital. My sister saw what happened and called the police. Now, there is a court case that has been going on for the last few weeks, and it doesn't look good for him. He really hurt her. He broke several vertebrae. She will recover, but not completely, and will probably need pain medication for many years. Meanwhile, Sally, angry and betrayed, has decided to call off her wedding. She wants to find her biological father. She sent me a message asking for details, and I gave her what I could remember. She tried to maintain a friendly relationship with my wife, but my wife ended up blocking her. My wife hates unnecessary drama. If I said I wish them the best, I would be lying. I hope they are all miserable and get what they deserve. I wish they had never sought me out in the first place. My life was absolutely fine without them trying to bully me and trick me into giving them money. But instead, their lives fell apart. That should have been a lesson to them not to be so fake. Of course, there won't be a next time. Update 4. I've always believed that everything happens for a reason, no matter how complicated it is. What happened recently is great proof of that. I don't know what higher power you believe in, but I know that justice always comes. My father received 3 years in prison for domestic violence, as simple as that. My mother presented evidence that he used to emotionally abuse her, which aggravated the severity of the case. Recently, there has been an increase in crimes against women in our area, which further complicated his situation. In the months that he has been away, things have been terrible for my mother and my sister. Sally went out looking for her biological father until she went crazy. Later, she found out that he had passed away a few years ago. She fell into a deep depression after that and decided she didn't want to get married anymore. I don't know what she's up to lately because we blocked her. My mother tried to text me a few days ago, blaming me for everything that happened. She told me that Sally didn't want to know anything about her and had cut her off completely. Without her husband, my mother is now suffering financially. I did not understand how that was possible. They had no savings? I went through hell for more than 5 years because of her lie. She preferred to see me on the street rather than risk telling the truth. If I had the chance, I would have exposed her sooner. I feel no loyalty to her, as she treated me like garbage as a child. If you are the parent of a problem child, try to understand them instead of crucifying them. I am not saying you should allow bad behavior. There must be discipline, but at least treat them as human beings. Cruelty only breeds hate. Right now, I hate my mother, and if she needed me, I wouldn't go. I have forgiven her, but I won't forget. On a happier note, my life keeps moving forward. My wife gave birth to a beautiful baby girl a couple of days ago, and that's what I wanted to share. I guess I got carried away ranting about my useless family. Well, enough of that. Now, I am just going to focus on my beautiful family. Lucy has made me the happiest man in the world by giving me a daughter. I will make sure my kids have a great upbringing, much better than the one I had. I will never abandon them, no matter how they turn out, and I will never favor one over the other. I am breaking those generational curses, and it's all thanks to the woman I married. I know I haven't talked about Lucy much, but she inspires me every single day. She gave me the motivation I needed to put the past behind me and become the man she deserves. I will spend my whole life making sure she is happy, and I don't care what other people think. She is my happiness. Lucy will be a wonderful mother, no matter what. However many children we still have 2 spare rooms, so who knows what could happen in the future. I have to go now. The baby is crying. See you. Update 5. I'm going to make a brief introduction. It's been a long time between updates, and I want to tell you about my family before moving on to the current problem with my sister and my mother. I have not had contact with them during all this time, except for what I will tell you at the end. You already know that I was never my mother's favorite person since she accused me of stealing to cover up her lies. Now that I have revealed the truth, I think I am even less so, if that is possible. The only thing I know is that she has moved to another state, and that has been all with her. I know that she still has after effects from what happened with my father, but I have not been able to verify it for myself, nor do I think I ever will. I will talk about that later. With my sister, it's more of the same. I have not had contact, and I have not been invited to her wedding. However, it is not the same wedding they planned to celebrate at my house, nor with the same boyfriend. She ended things with that person shortly after everything that happened, especially since she was very depressed and decided to cancel the wedding altogether. Lately, she has gotten help and found someone new. As for my father, who is the reason for this update, he has already finished his sentence. When he did, it didn't take him too long to contact me. Of course, I was quite reluctant to talk to him, but now I feel happy in a way that I did. So, as not to bore you with the details, since I know long updates aren't everyone's preference, he told me that all that time locked up helped him reflect. At first, he was angry with me because he thought it was all my fault, but then he realized that I actually helped him discover the truth. He also acknowledged that it was his fault that he made bad decisions, like what he did to my mother, and that the punishment was well-deserved. However, after talking to counselors and other people in prison, he came to the conclusion that I might not be his son either. So he was there not just to apologize to me, but also to propose that I do a DNA test. I will not deny that I also had my doubts for a while, but I did not want to contact my father or go through the whole process while he was still serving his sentence. Thanks to my father getting in touch, I think it was the best time to do it. Not that it was going to change much in our relationship, but at least I wanted to be sure so my children would know who their grandfather was, especially if there were any hereditary disease issues we should be aware of. We did the test, and it turned out that I am not his son. After that, the man I thought was my father told me that we could still maintain a relationship, but I replied that this was the perfect opportunity to completely distance ourselves, now that there was not even a blood relationship between us. I know that hit him very hard since this man does not stop receiving negative news, but I had nothing else to say to him. My next stop was my sister, whom I contacted to do a DNA test between siblings. I didn't know that was possible, but when I investigated, I found out that they can determine if you are a full sibling or a half-sibling. The results showed the latter. So, by elimination, we share the same mother, but not the same father. That would have helped a lot since it would have solved the mystery and prevented me from contacting my mother. However, I did contact her, but I couldn't get a response. She is still very angry with me and refused to tell me who my father was. She also told me not to call her anymore, which is fine by me. At this point, I'm at a dead end. I can't force her to tell me, and I even think that she doesn't know who my father is. All I can do is either hire a private investigator, which I don't think would help much, or leave the subject as it is. I want to leave everything behind and move on. I have spoken with my wife, and she told me that if I don't want to, I don't have to look for him. That is what I think I will do. Maybe in a few years, I will change my mind. If that happens, I'll provide another update, but for now, I just want to put it all behind me and forget about the matter. Update 6. Thanks to a comment from a Reddit user who told me something I was completely unaware of, I was able to take a test with Ancestry DNA. This led me to discover who my biological father was, which hasn't changed much because that man has also died. I've found out a little bit about him, and there's nothing I need to worry about in terms of illnesses. So, at least something positive has come out of all this. Just thought I'd share, although there's not much else to really count. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced something similar, or do you know someone who has? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.